Hey everyone, I want to welcome you to eOne's Q1 2025 Partner All Hands call. My name is Katie Soderberg and I work across our sales and marketing team, and we've got a great crew here today to walk through some updates. We have some cool things to show you from a product perspective today. We want to speak to something like really a core concept for how we're thinking about product strategy here right at the beginning. And then as far as some other updates from our team, we want to make sure you have some quick updates on some logistics for the next quarter, plus are able to understand where you can connect with eOne this spring. So we're heading into event season pretty heavily, so we'll give you a very quick update on that and how you can get engaged and get trained this spring. So with that, that's really our agenda today. I'm going to pass it over to Martin Olson to get us started.
Thank you, Katie, and welcome to everybody. Thanks for joining. For those joining live, really appreciate you taking the time. And for those that are going to watch this a little bit later, nice to talk to you. And of course, as always, if anyone has any topics they want to discuss with me, you know my email address, you know I'm always available. And if you've ever had an email from me, my cell phone's on the bottom. So always open to feedback from our partners as we try to make eOne continually better. What I want to touch on really quick this morning is what an integrated business looks like in 2025. We've talked about some of this stuff before, but it has changed. Yes, it's an iPaaS, it's an integration platform as a service that every one of your customer needs. But to have a truly integrated business, there is so much more to it. You know, once upon a time, we'd have Great Plains or NAV or NetSuite, you know, and the needs of the customer from an integration perspective were, I have a price file from a vendor and I need to import it into GP. It comes to me as a text file or an Excel sheet and I need to import it. And that was the limit of it. Or it was, hey, I've just started using e-commerce and we get some orders from customers and we need to import those into our ERP system. And that was the iPaaS. Yeah, with data in one place, that data needs to physically move to another. It might have been CRM accounts and contacts and addresses. We need to sync those across to our ERP. And so we were physically picking up one piece of data and moving that into your accounting system. In 2025, that's 50% of what an integrated business looks like. Yes, you need that. Yes, it's a key part of things, and data does need to move between systems. But literally, that's 50% of what a solution needs to look like. What we know about customers now, and if you think about your business, it's exactly the same, and it's exactly the same for my business, and it's the same for all of your customers. You all have 5, 10, 15, 20 different business applications to run your business. And those applications need to talk to each other, not just in the back end with data moving, but at the front end on the visual side. So we need visually those apps to work together, which means people can work in the application where they are most efficient, where they like to spend their time, where they are happiest. So if you can make your end users happier by saying, stay in the app that you like and let me integrate our systems together visually. So not just physically moving data, but visually. So on this screenshot, you can see here, this is Dynamics 365 Business Central, for those that are familiar with that. But what I'm looking at against a project in D365 are a series of tasks that come from Jira. So we're working with a partner at the moment to take this to market, where the billing side of project management, the billing side of jobs, is all handled out of Business Central. But all the tasks that need to be completed around those jobs are stored in either Jira or Monday.com. And so what we're doing here is bringing forward, for any given line on a project budget, we can display all of the tasks that are stored in a completely different system. This data never moves into BC. It is still in Jira, which is what they use for task management. But we can link those back and see the status of all these jobs. And just like a Smart List Builder action, we could jump from here into Jira, we could drill down, we could go and open those records back in Jira. If you go one more slide down, Katie, there's another screenshot which is showing a consolidated set of tasks. Oop, not that one, but for a resource. So for Catherine Hull, we're now pulling together all of the tasks out of a completely different system. But a project manager, a CFO, a team member can come out and see the status of all these things, even though that data will never be transferred between Business Central and Jira. Now, I want you to put your thinking hats on, and we can go to the next slide, of other places where you can apply that. If you think about your customers, what other systems are they using that you could visually hook together and say, hey, stick in a system you like, Mr. Accountant or Mr. Salesperson or support agent or warehouse manager or packer in the warehouse or project manager. If you think of every role and go, what application are they spending their time in? And how can I visually bring data to those people? Now, one thing to note, and we'll touch on this a bit later, is that that can be scary for you as a partner. I get it. You don't know a lot about Jira unless you're a developer or you're using that for your project management. But that's where we come in. We've built these tools to help you be the person that links your customer systems together, both in the back end with the data and at the front end with the visual components that we provide. So where it's scary for you, and you go, I don't know about Salesforce, or I don't know about Jira, I don't know anything about Zendesk, but that's what my customers are using. We're here to help. We're here to bridge that gap. We are the experts on all of those things and how to bring that data together. So lean on eOne, lean on us, throw some of those projects over the fence if it's too scary for you. But it does mean that your customers are going to love what you've delivered and be a sticky long-term customer for you. So that's why we're calling it an iPaaS Plus, an iPaaS Plus, legacy data migration. Now, a lot of you have got stuck on legacy data migration and love it, and that's one really awesome use of PopDoc, because it's the same thing. We're taking data from one application and displaying it inside Business Central or inside NetSuite or inside the destination or final ERP. That's one use of the concept, but I really need you to put your thinking caps on, look at every one of your customers, and even if you can't find a reason, call me, call your PDM. We'd love to sit down and say, hey, here's a great use case for this customer. Here's a great use case for this customer. Let's talk about all the apps that your customer has and let's find a use case for them. One, builds recurring revenue for you. Two, creates those long-term sticky customers that you need. And that's really where I'm going to hand off today. So I'm going to pass on to the new features section from Mr. Rod O'Connor.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Martin. Good morning, everyone. So back in January, we did have a release of SmartConnect, and it introduced, a bunch of new stuff. I wanted to draw attention to two particular new features that were brought out. Well, new features and expanded features. So Katie, if we can hit. So the first one we're going to talk about webhooks. We have introduced webhook functionality within our configurable REST API definition. So for those of you who don't know, we do have a configurable REST API definition in SmartConnect. It's a standard connector. You can basically use 0 lines of code to work with any API across the internet. Which apparently represents about 95% of the apps that are currently online. So Katie will bounce forward. So basically, to understand, what is a webhook for anyone who maybe hasn't heard that phrase before, I like to use this slide as a quick primer. So on the left is what's happening when there isn't a webhook. So it's what happened in SmartConnect up until just recently. We would set up a SmartConnect process to run, usually on some kind of schedule. It would reach out to the source and it would ask if there's any data to be processed. If there isn't any data, SmartConnect would just basically say, okay, it would wait until the next time it was scheduled to run, and then it would ask again and again and again, as you can see in that slide, until it actually got some data, and then it would process that data. Now, depending on the schedule, this could be a ton of API hits in a day, really for no good reason. So in cases where you have API limits and a lot of integrations, pointless API calls can be a real problem. Now enter the webhook. So on the right, we have a webhook example. Basically what happens is you tell the API to let SmartConnect know when there's going to be data to be processed. So SmartConnect never really interacts with that API again until the API reaches out to SmartConnect and says, hey, there's something for you to process. So not only does that reduce the number of API calls dramatically, obviously, because we're not calling it every 5 minutes or every hour or every whatever that schedule was, but it is setting up a real-time data source against that API, which is pretty cool. So now that real-time functionality that we have in a number of our standard connectors, we can really take out to the internet and say, we can have real-time integration with all kinds of applications that are out there. Katie? Excuse me. So how does it work? Basically, there's a couple different ways that a webhook can work. In both cases, when an event happens in the source system, a ticket just got entered, order just got taken, what have you, a message gets sent to SmartConnect, and then we store that in a staging table. And then obviously tell the API, yeah, we got your message. So we're going to do something. Now, messages can either contain a link to the data or the entire data set as it is. So if the message was a full data set, we're going to pass that into the integration and then run it. But if the message was a key field, we'll just run the integration, which will have a data source, and we'll pass that key field in as a parameter. In both cases, that record is being processed right away. Okay. So there you go. You've got a real-time API, a real-time integration based on a REST API, which is pretty cool. So when do we use webhooks? There's going to be a few different times. First and foremost, the API has to support webhooks as well. Not every API is going to support webhooks, but if they do, and you need real-time updates, that's a great time to use it. There are times where what we're getting back from an API maybe isn't sufficient, and what we get back from a webhook is better. So when we're dealing with weird messages, we'll deal with that. The API rate limits I already talked about. That can be a big one for people, especially depending how frequent they have to run their integrations and how many integrations they actually have running. And then there are some APIs where they can't give us the data that has happened since the last time I ran the map, for example. So maybe they don't have any kind of timestamp on their data. And in the past, we've had to work around that using staging tables or PopDoc or something like that. In those cases, quite often a webhook is a great alternative because it's going to send us that data and we can just deal with it. Next slide. So I mentioned before, not every REST API out there is going to have a webhook available to you, but a lot of the major ones do. Here's a few of the examples we've actually been able to work with since we had the feature in SmartConnect. I won't read you every one, but Zendesk is a really popular one with us. When new tickets get created, we can have that ticket automatically kick off things. Where you can see here, we've got an issue being created in Zira when we have a ticket set on hold. Magento or any online store, really, when we get the order, we might want to kick off that order in real time to get into the ERP. So there's lots of opportunities out there for you all to start using really robust real-time integrating with REST APIs. So that's pretty cool. The next feature that I want to talk about is NetSuite. Now, a couple of years ago, I guess a few years ago now, a bunch of partners came to us and said, we'd like to start using SmartConnect against NetSuite. Wouldn't that be fine? And so we listened, we went out, and we've been working on building up a really solid NetSuite integration platform for you. With this recent release, we're actually releasing a whole bunch of cool NetSuite features. The one in particular, Katie, that we want to talk about first is the integration layer itself. So the NetSuite partners on the call already know that in NetSuite, the integration layer is called SuiteTalk. It's a collection of APIs that provide business logic and the whole technical framework required to integrate with NetSuite. So up until the most recent release, SmartConnect was really only integrating with the SOAP API part of SuiteTalk. But now we're using both SOAP and REST APIs. So we've got a connection to the most recent version of the REST API for NetSuite. And this means we're providing the most flexibility when it comes to integrating with NetSuite. So the REST APIs, they don't quite cover all of NetSuite yet, but they do allow you to work around some of the limitations of integrating with the SOAP API. And by continuing to work with SOAP, you get to work around the current limitations on the REST API. So it's really the best of both worlds and the most flexible way that you can integrate with NetSuite. And as you can see on the slide, the addition of the REST API doesn't just allow you to work around some of the limitations of SOAP, it also introduces a bunch of new features, RESTlet query data sources, for example, REST sublists, and a bunch of different additional column types. Katie? So also with this round of enhancements, there's 3 different ways you can get NetSuite data out of NetSuite. We've always had the NetSuite query, which basically allowed you to query a saved search or create a custom search against the various role types. And as I mentioned on the last slide, we also allow you to use NetSuite RESTlets as a data source. But finally, we can use SuiteQL as a data source as well. So if you are a SuiteQL developer, you can use pass-through SuiteQL to get the data directly from the database as well. So the world is your oyster at this point as far as getting data out of NetSuite and into wherever you have to get it to go. REST APIs in NetSuite, they've been a huge area of focus for us over the past couple of years, and they're going to be going forward as well. Anyone on the call who wants more detail on anything I've talked about here, feel free to reach out to your PDMs and we'll get a call set up with you guys when we dig into all this in more detail. But with that, I will pass the baton to Alicia.
Awesome. Thanks, Rod. So I want to talk today a little bit about a topic that has been coming up a lot lately for us, specifically because of the announcement with Microsoft's end of life for GP. So we've been preparing our customers and our partners for this, and then of course also being able to use our products, as long as they want. We committed to 10 years for supporting our GP customers as well. So I wanted to talk just about a small portion of this iPaaS Plus system and focus on migration today. So a lot of our partners are looking for ways to streamline their migrations from legacy ERPs to systems like Business Central or NetSuite that Rod just finished mentioning, or Acumatica or Intact. So let's jump into where eOne fits into that process. So on the upper right-hand side, this is how eOne fits into that and how we streamline that process. So in the upper right-hand side of your screen, there's that legacy data, right? Everybody has an ERP that they are coming off of. If we follow that path on the upper side there, we can see that SmartConnect. We use SmartConnect for the integration of master records. So the one-to-one, the accounts, the contacts, the data that has to live in that new ERP system like Business Central, for example. So we're really eliminating the need for those configuration packages, right? having to match those columns exactly in those configuration packages. SmartConnect, we can do one-to-one integrations. I've also had partners tell me, we're waiting 4 hours for these config packages to stop running. And then, by the way, they error out at the end, and we don't have any notification of that prior to the end of that 4-hour process. So SmartConnect's going to throw you some errors if those errors happen. Roughly, we've been told by partners that we're about 70% faster than the configuration packages, and also 1,000% more enjoyable. So when you're thinking about doing those migrations or the master records, definitely think about using SmartConnect in that process as well. If we follow that path to the bottom there, we're looking at PopDoc. So once you have those master records integrated, you're going to use PopDoc to migrate the rest of that historical data. So this is the part that I feel like a lot more partners are coming on board, because customers are sitting there with data sitting in their legacy ERP, or having to maintain that on-premise server, or even getting access to that data for auditing purposes. So what we're doing with PopDoc is we are moving that data, we're pushing it up into, let's say, an Azure Data Lake or AWS. And then what we're able to do is display that data right inside of Business Central where the user wants to work. So that's kind of how the PopDoc portion of it fits in. And then once again, this isn't just the initial phase. It is using and including all those other applications in there down the road for a fresh start inside of Business Central as well. So Kate, if you go to the next slide, I want to talk a little bit briefly about the SmartConnect templates that we have coming out as well. So on the SmartConnect side of things, to make things a lot more efficient, we've had a lot of feedback saying, hey, I would really like to be able to use a template, input that template, and have a plug and play type process for you to be able to do these integrations even faster. So we've came up with a handful or a couple dozen of templates on the GP and BC side of things so far. We are working on other ERPs, but just so you're aware that these are coming out or very, very close. They're in our QA phase to be able to implement those, and then you have that starting point on the SmartConnect side. Now on the PopDoc side of things, I want to show you what this looks like after the integration has actually been completed, or the push to the data lake has actually been completed. On the screen, what you're seeing is what the end user would see inside of Business Central. So what we're doing is we are displaying, in this case, it's on the dashboard, but this can be any data coming from a legacy ERP. So GP, SL, SQL-based systems, NAV, for example. So we're displaying that data inside of Business Central, keeping those users that are working inside of Business Central. If you go to the next slide, Katie, we can also see that we can make this data contextual. So I know a lot of people on the call know who Aaron Fitz is, coming from our GP space. So if we wanted contextual data that, Aaron Fitz sitting inside of Business Central used to be Aaron Fitz inside of GP, and we want to, make that one-to-one relationship, we can also do that as well inside of Business Central. On the next slide there, we can also take that data and view it inside of any other system that's going to accept an iframe for us. So this is really helpful for those end users that don't need to be sitting inside of Business Central, but they still maybe need a sales history. How many items did they sell in 2015? We're going to be able to give that to them outside of Business Central as well. So not only can you use PopDoc widgets in Business Central and most other applications, but you can also use API endpoints to get that data into tools like Power BI. So we're filtering the data prior to it being sent there, making it a lot faster and more efficient. So this is obviously going to save you as a partner a ton of time on those queries, and make it a lot faster for the customer and more efficient as well. So just a reminder that this is just one tiny portion of the eOne iPaaS. Once again, our tools are portable across ERPs. So you have a lot of GP customers, a lot of NAV customers that might be using SmartConnect or PopDoc today. You can use those as they move to other ERP systems, or they take on other applications as well. So just a reminder, those are portable for you, and they can be used across many different platforms as well. And the last slide I want to go through is just quickly put this up there for the migration pricing. We've priced this, I think, very fair in that if you wanted the full iPaaS, right, doing master records and the history portion of it, we're letting you use a 3-month license for both SmartConnect and PopDoc for $700 USD a month. Once again, we have regional pricing on our website, but this is displayed in USD for now. If you're looking to just use SmartConnect for the master records or PopDoc for the migration piece as well, we do have those separately or separate offers for that migration piece. One thing on the PopDoc migration as well, with the latest renewal of SmartList Builder, as many of you know, the renewal now includes PopDoc. So many of your GP customers already have access to this license. So if you haven't had them implement PopDoc yet, get them using PopDoc for GP. It's portable. They'll have their smart list they can use for a new ERP as well. So, and we're having a lot of customers love that feature once they've decided to someday move over to a new ERP system. So, and if you don't know if your customer has access to that, let us know. We can give you a list of customers that already do have access to that tool for migration and just to use today inside a GP as well, or NAV. So with that being said, a lot of these you're thinking, I don't know how to do these. I might need help. I might need some training. So we as eOne can act as an extension of your team as well. And Martin, you might want to touch on that a little bit more too.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump back in again. It's I got ahead of myself a little earlier on this topic, but it's something a lot of our partners have been telling me recently is that, Martin, it's great. You keep talking about Zendesk, but we don't know anything about Zendesk. Martin, you keep talking about Salesforce. We're a Microsoft house. We don't know anything about Salesforce, and I don't want to hire anyone on my team that's a Salesforce expert. Or Martin, you talked about Jira, and that's really exciting, but what does that mean for me as a Microsoft partner? And I fully understand that, and I get that there's limitations, and it's hard enough to find, Business Central or NetSuite consultants, let alone an expert that knows how to read APIs and understand all those other applications and the process flow of those applications, so you even know what data to embed inside applications, because your customers don't always know the detailed answers to that either. And that's where we want to come in for you. We want to be your outsourced extension of your team, that you get to say, you know what, yes, I can do that. When somebody mentions Salesforce, you get to say, yep, we got that covered. We'll bring in the gurus, and that's eOne. When they say, hey, we use Freshdesk and we use Jira, and we need to tie those two things together and then push, timesheets back to Business Central, you get to go, you know what, I got you covered, because our trusted partner eOne is here to help with that. Now, we're not here to steal anybody's professional services. That's the last thing we want. We have a professional services team for one reason, and that is to help our partners and to help our customers be successful with our products. So we're giving on those sales, if you sell eOne services, there's a 20% margin, which, to be fair, when I look at professional services company, is a pretty good margin, probably better than most people are making with their services teams anyway. So we want to make it profitable for you, easier to sell our products by just throwing things over the fence. Say yes to stuff and throw it to eOne, and we'll come in and be there for you to help. So that's really the message on that. And if you want to discuss that further, feel free to, again, give me a call, and a bit later we'll introduce you to some new team members at eOne that will be able to help with that process. Thanks, Alicia.
Awesome. I'm going to jump in on a couple things here, and just kind of on the back of that, Alicia, talked about how customers are on a journey with their ERP. We have customers who are would like to get as much value out of GP over the next coming years, and then we have customers who are thinking sooner about how they migrate to their new ERP. We've got a lot of customers we've sold to over the last 20 years in business, and last year we made some pricing changes and introduced some offers that started last summer. So we wanted to give you a quick reminder, especially for those customers who used one of our GP products or used SmartConnect Perpetual. We've got some great offers in place, and those customers can get the best renewal price that we have available as long as they renew before May 31st, 2025. So perpetual customers who've been on our perpetual licensing of SmartConnect, SmartList Builder, and or SmartView, when they transition to their subscription license of PopDoc or a SmartConnect business plan, they're going to get 60% off for 3 years at a locked price, which is awesome, and then another 20% off for the next 3 years. So I would encourage you to log into our site, take a look at your upcoming renewals, and plan ahead. If you have customers who have renewal dates in the summer or later, like, they can renew early and take advantage of this discount. If you have customers who they may have prepaid and their renewal date is out later, for as a subscription customer with us. So those customers can opt in and get the transition discount. When we changed pricing last year, we had offered a 12-month promo to customers at their next renewal if they were a subscription customer and active with us. So again, log into the site, take a look at your upcoming renewals, get those in before May 31st. That's going to be the best price for the renewals. And like Alicia said, especially if your customers are thinking about their next steps in their journey, we're on a mission with you. We want our customers get a lot of value using our products with GP and with other systems, like both Martin and Alicia mentioned, and they're going to be set up to use our full iPaaS suite if they take advantage of those discounts. So, and we do have iPaaS plans that bundle and save you even more. So it's really a good thing to do that, but keep that date in mind. Once you get your customers renewed or they're getting started with PopDoc or SmartConnect, we wanted to make sure you are introduced to our customer success team. And a lot of you have met Chris and Connor before, but they're on a mission to make sure you're really successful with PopDoc and with our full suite of products. So they've taken a special focus with PopDoc over the last year to make sure that customers are in the tool, they are connected to their data, and then they can see their data and work with it where those customers want to. So it might be giving an executive access to GP reporting, but you don't want them in GP. It might be virtually integrating that data and showing your sales team in Salesforce that ERP history, or really making sure that user in Business Central has access to their historical legacy data when they're in Business Central and are implementing and getting started. So there's a ton of use cases out there, but they're on a mission to get you connected, get your customers connected to their data. They want to support you as partners. So with some partners, there's a really specific approach that we've agreed to, but they want to work with you to make sure your customers are successful with eOne's products. That's our mission at the end of the day. So, as far as types of use cases, like, we want to also make sure you have access to some of the new content too. So they're gonna get some of that content to you and your customers. This is just a quick example. We have one of our consultants put together a quick video on YouTube, and you definitely encourage you to go out to our YouTube channel. But this was a scenario that it was so popular using eOne Suite. People wanted to track payments against invoices in GP, and PopDoc, it's not so easy to do that in Business Central. So what our consultant did was recorded a quick video to show you how you could use PopDoc to do that successfully and pretty easily as a user with your Business Central data. So definitely encourage you to take a look at some of the examples we have out on YouTube for using our products with GP and with NetSuite and with other ERPs like Business Central and D365 Finance. But our customer success team, like I said, is on a mission to make sure that our tools are working really well for your customer's use case. Now, looking ahead to the spring, we've got some, like I mentioned earlier, we're going into event season, and we want to connect with you in person. We want to put together some plans that are, make sense for your business growth as a partner, and then we also have some really great opportunities to get educated on our products. So, and some of these are from are really geared for that sales person. Some of them are more technical as far as educational events, but this is a quick glance at some of the upcoming conferences where eOne will be sponsoring, and we'll have multiple people on site. So next week, a few of us are heading to Zendesk Relate, and that's their primary customer conference, so we're excited to be there. We will also be at a number of Dynamics Microsoft related events this spring. In Europe, we'll be at the Days of Knowledge UK and Nordic event, and then we'll be in Las Vegas in a few more weeks, meeting with all the D365 Business Central partners. And then we'll finish up our spring season of events at Dynamics Con. We're excited to be a part of that user event for across Dynamics 365 channels. That'll be a great event. Now, as far as getting up to speed on how you can win more deals, how you can really deliver integration successfully, architect things, come in with a great solution for your customers, one of the types of trainings we wanted to make sure you knew about is our integration roadshows. If you've been working with our partner development team, they're really passionate about these, and Rod, who presented earlier, if you like hearing from Rod, you're going to want to go to one of these events, but he and a few of our other technical experts, they really go into best practices around designing your solution, delivering a really awesome demo, how you make it really easy to understand the integration solution and put together one that's going to perform really well for your customer's scenario. So we'll be delivering this in-person integration roadshow 3 times in the next few months in New Orleans, Louisiana. We'll host one in Fargo, so you can come meet the eOne team in Fargo, and then we'll also be in Boston, Massachusetts early this fall for the Integration Roadshow. And then, of course, you've probably seen these before, but if you haven't joined one of our online technical boot camps, I highly recommend this. We have a number of types of online in-depth trainings with our senior technical consultants, and they really get you up to speed around specific scenarios. So we have a PopDoc boot camp for your customers who are getting started with PopDoc. If you as a partner are just getting started with PopDoc, this is a great deep dive right into PopDoc, and it gives you an overview of all the things you need to know as you get started and start connecting to your data, building lists, and virtually integrating. And then you'll see on this list, we have a number of integration boot camps. These, when there's channel specific, the exercises are based around that specific tool. So if we're delivering the Business Central Integration Bootcamp, then we're covering a whole bunch of scenarios around integrating with Business Central, whether it's files, APIs, CRM systems. So definitely get your technical resources to these boot camps. We also love to see support people and anybody else who's really involved with delivering that and supporting that integration solution. So that's what we have coming up for types of online boot camps. We have a full schedule this year. Definitely take a look at our site and the links that we provide you afterwards, and that'll be a great opportunity. Now, the last thing I want to do, and I'm really excited about introducing you to someone who's new to the eOne team, but you're going to meet him in the spring season here. Jordan Gutman, who is recently joined our team as our COO, and Jordan brings a lot of expertise around growth and M&A, and he is really looking to make sure we are delivering really good offerings as we grow into and go deeper into the different channels. So if you haven't met Jordan yet, you will. He's going to be at Directions North America. He's going to go be at the Zendesk event next week, and we're really excited to have him on the team and help eOne grow with you. So with that, that's everything we were looking to cover today. And we're going to wrap up a little bit earlier, but at the end of the day, we want you to know that we have your back. We want to make it as easy as possible for you to support your customers on their journey with their ERP and their CRM and best of breed business systems. And that's from a sales perspective, that's from a support perspective, and we want to make sure that we're aligning with you. So with that, I want to take a look at some of the questions, see if there's anything that's popped up here. Looks like it's.
Just while we're
go ahead, Martin.
looking at those questions, Katie, I just wanted to double down on what you said there about the eOne YouTube channel. I'm not sure if all of our partners are taking advantage of it. We use it for two things. A lot of support type, short knowledge base type videos that support our knowledge base get posted to our YouTube channel. So our support team are really active in saying, hey, there's people that would much rather watch this on a video than read a long article. So go there for that, as well as we're actively posting use case scenarios. So again, the feedback is, hey, PopDoc looks really cool, but we're not quite sure where to use it or how to use it. Or SmartConnect, I don't really understand outside of, CRM integration or Excel imports. I'm not really sure where I should be using it. We're posting more and more and more niche use case scenarios to give you a heads up on where you can take the tool and what you can do with it. So get into that YouTube channel, spend some time there. It's not perfect, but we're getting it better and better and better all the time. And if there's a video that you go, you know what, I'd love to learn X, send it our way, and we'll endeavor to record it and get it up for you.
Absolutely. And you can also follow eOne on LinkedIn. That's a great place to follow eOne, and we are posting updates there too. So
perfect.
Well, we're pretty light on questions. In fact, I think we've answered everything that's in there. So with that, we'll wrap up a little bit earlier today. We want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join eOne for our Q1 Partner All Hands call here. And if there's anything we can do for you or you have any questions, feel free to reach out anytime. We're looking forward to helping you. Have a wonderful day.